guys, so I'm back with a robot build. Boop. So it's been way too long, I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I found somewhere I can make them. I've sort of gathered together some stuff enough to build them again, and I have plans for about 12 new little builds. So I'm going to be putting them together, doing it in my spare time and stuff, getting it all done. But today, to start off, we have Megabyte, and for that I'll be using I got little Sainsbury's bags of all the little builds I've got, like a little bit scattered together for each build sort of thing. Yeah, so this one is going to be, a lot of it is 3D printing based. So basically this is all 3D printed. I looked for ages and ages for something that could act as like a shell for Megabyte. I'm talking best part of a year I've been looking at this stuff. I wanted to build a full body spinner for ages. However, I haven't found anything, and eventually I've caved and done 3D printing, which I originally considered cheating, but I think if I've looked this long and there's still nothing even close, then sod it, I think 3D printing is the way to go. So this is quite large as the shell goes. That is because I plan to fit it on top of a tombstone. You see this little bit here? This is pretty much central to the whole robot. So if I take off this bit, plonk the shell over top, it should be pretty straightforward, like it's all kind of good to go. The guy who did it, Alex, very much shout out, big thanks, and other English phrases. Yeah, great guy, has been helping me out with a few different little 3D printed bits. He has made this sort of bit in here, which should slot straight into the top of tombstone, so that's cool. And I think the only like difficult bit of this build is going to be that kind of big self-righty arm pole bit that sits on top of it. And that is because, again, if you look here, you've got this tiny little metal section there for it to actually go into, which isn't going to be, it's not going to be structurally sound at all. Short of welding it on, it's not going to hold, it's not going to self-right. So I'm going to do it just purely aesthetic. So I've got these weird reusable drinking straws, and so my plan is to mount this bit on top, which is like a cleaner for the straw. But if you look at the end of the straw, which comes off separately, A, it's got this nice little lip around the kind of top, which looks like the one on the Megabyte self-writing arm, but B, it just slots very nicely on there and it'll just stay there. So I'll paint this black, paint the shell silver, whack it all together, try and stick this on that little tiny metal bit. If it holds, it holds. If not, then it will fall off, kind of like the original does anyway. So authenticity is always the word. Yeah, that's the plan. Let's see how it goes. Oh, actually, explanation of which Megabyte I'm making. So I know Megabyte has a huge history, loads of different incarnations, and I'm sure there are fans of all the different ones out there. My personal introduction to them was King of Bots, which I know you'll be like, what? That's like really recent, but that was my introduction, so that's the one that I fell in love with, so that's the one I'm going to base it on. So it's going to be mostly that kind of nice shiny silver, the big black lettering. That's the plan for that. So Alex 3D printed this in such a way just so he could actually print it on his 3D printer and post it, so it came in 4 sections, came in quarters. So first step is going to be just simply gluing these together. They slot together very cleverly anyway, so to be honest they might not need it, but I'm going to put a dab of glue on there anyway. And while we wait for that to dry, we're going to start taking the front off of Tombstone. I'm going to make a point of keeping this belt drive, etc., and this little wheel, because I think it might come in handy in sort of future builds and stuff, so no point wasting things like that. I think you'll agree, Tombstone has been really proudly improved there. What a noble sight. Essentially just a toilet brush sticking out the top of it. So next up, painting. I've allowed the paint to dry overnight, I've also applied a few more layers, and I've put this sort of cardboard disc on top, and that is to cover the gaps, which, although they were designed to sort of look cool and allow the tombstone to receive underneath, I found that if you put the cardboard on, it did it anyway, and this way it's that little bit more accurate, true to the original design, and you can get those awesome big Megabyte lettering So I've done a sort of rough outline of all of the lettering, and even had a little go at the Chinese writing down there. A little bit rusty on my Mandarin, so I hope I've got it right, but pretty pleased with that for my first step. That took ages. I'm talking so long. Okay, so yeah, this has taken me the best part of, I don't know, an hour and a half maybe. But hopefully the results speak for themselves. You know, if you put some patience into something, it should look quite good. So yeah, very pleased with the way this has turned out. Now I've just got to assemble it together. I've had another look at the pole, and already the paint's chipping off it. And also, for you, it was meant to go, yeah, what was it, like this. And if you look at that, the pole on there actually looks a lot different. So I'm going to have a little redesign of the pole. Still going to attach in the same sort of principle. But yeah, just another look at that. Okay, so that went very, very badly. The glue wasn't coming out, and then suddenly it was just was there. It all went in the spinner mechanism, and it just seized up instantly, and it was, oh god, it was painful. Fortunately I've got another tombstone for another build, so I've taken that one apart, and I'm currently just reattaching the self-writing on there, and I've got the spinner going, so nothing can seize. I may actually count up how many of these I've actually got now, because it's getting a bit silly. Like, in the edit this will be seconds later, but it's been about 4 or 5 days since I finished this shell, and I've tried a billion different ways of sticking this little thing to this, and it just never seems to work. And I tried with various metal glues, super glues, all this sort of thing, and now I've upped to a soldering iron. I'm going to try and solder it on. Whether this will go well, I don't know. I might just ruin another perfectly good tombstone. Yeah, so the soldering didn't work. I want to get this bloody working. So I've managed to get the pin out. See it there, tiny little pin. And it's about the same sort of width as the little brush thing I've got to put in there. So, but it's still a little bit skinnier than that. So I'm thinking I'll drill out this little bit. It's a little bit scabby there where I've burnt it with solder at the top. Hopefully that'll be fine. And then that'll sit in there. That'll still sit rigidly in there, like that. But then hopefully that whole thing will be sticking through there. This shouldn't lift up because this cover is still holding it on. So, in theory, and obviously the pin shouldn't come out because this is in the way. Well, it is the pin rather. So, whatever. I might have ruined another tombstone, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so I may have edited that to look like it was working, but in all honesty, it's more like this. Come on! Yeah, the signal just basically isn't getting through at all, which is annoying because it did in the tests. But, you know, I want to work in robots, so unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to either cut out these letters to give the signal somewhere to get through, or literally... You can see on the inside there where the actual original gaps were. So I'm going to have to cut one of those out. I'm going to start at the letters. If it still doesn't work after that, then we'll have to cut the whole sections out, which is a shame because, you know, I was really pleased with the lettering on there. But, you know, that's the way it goes. Right, so this thing has been the bane of my life. The reason I start this video going, hi, I'm back doing videos, is because I thought this one was going to be the first one just because it was going to be really easy. And it just wasn't. But, okay, right, here we have Megabyte. I'll put a little plastic straw on here so that it's just a little bit lighter and it can deal with it a bit better. It's got new batteries in it. It's all secure. It should be good to go. I've tested it and the signal can actually get through these gaps. Let's test drive it again. Okay, so overall, this was so much harder than I thought it would be, mainly because of the self-writing direction indicator bar thing, which doesn't actually, if you can see, look, it does, if you spin it around, it does sort of go with it, but also it kind of spins independently as well. So it's not actually worked as well as it should really, but it was, I'm glad I sort of persisted with it anyway, I don't know why. The shaft is a little bit skinnier than it should be, so it's all a bit wibbly wobbly, you can see there. But it does spin up. You can control it now thanks to the holes. Like I say, again, shame we had to lose the lettering, but it actually works, which is always a plus with your robot. And yeah, like I say, it dishes out it gets a bit of energy going once it's spun up. So yeah, I think overall I'm really pleased with it. And just want to say thanks again to Alex for actually making the shell, because obviously without that it would look very peculiar. It would just be a little toilet brush on top of a tombstone. So yeah, thanks again, Alex. But anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I do have, it's sitting right there and you can't see what it is. I have one more BattleBots robot, which I'm just building there. It's just, I've just done the test drive now and it's just fallen apart a little bit, but it's drying there. And I've got another 3 or 4 robots, 3 robots. And then plans after that. So yeah, stick around. I hope you like this video, and cheerio.